Sir, one second. It's not. There we go. Now it's going. You're good.
Start all over again?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. All right, it is Monday, August the 10th, 2020, 5 p.m. Boardroom of the Robstown Administration Building. First item on it's a regular board meeting. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Bertha Roldan present.
Eva Orona present.
Hector Lopez present.
Lori Garza present.
Ricardo Gonzalez present.
And Oscar Lopez present. Not at the moment is Mr. Torres. He says it's going to be late a little bit. Next item on the agenda is a moment of silence. Will one of you lead us in prayer? Eva or Lori, whoever?
Eva can do it.
Ms. Orona?
Okay, you want me to do a prayer? Okay,
Yeah, we're going to do the prayer.
sure. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessing of this day, Lord. We ask you, Lord, to be with us as we are led to support our school district, support our students, and the leadership of our schools. We thank you for the blessing of life. We thank you and we ask you for protection over those who are suffering from COVID. And Heavenly Father, take care of our families. Take care of those who are in need of help, Lord. In your name we pray.
Amen.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Lori?
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America.
And
To the republic
for which
Which it stands,
one
nation,
nation under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for
for
all.
all. Texas flag, Lori.
honor the Texas
Texas
flag.
flag. I
I
pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
indivisible.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Moreno, before we continue, did you just receive that email from Eddie Perez?
It looks like Miss Irma just saw it. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
he's having trouble logging in.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Irma, you got Eddie? Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right. Ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Next item on the agenda is public participation as per policy BED local.
Any questions, Irma? Not at this time.
Thank you. We go to number 5, informational items, sirs. The superintendent updates.
Trustees, I just wanted to give you a few dates, and I can also email you this document, but I just want to make sure I can at least read it out to you. But just assuming nothing, we have Meet the Teacher, and for the principal as well. The principals are going to do an introduction, not like the town hall that I set up necessarily, but they are going to do an intro to speak to our parents pertaining to their particular campus. And then, of course, that'll transition to Meet the Teacher. So that's going to be running from August the 12th through the 17th. August 14th is our back to school rally and supply giveaway. We'll be at the stadium outside the football stadium this Friday at 5:30. And then on August the 15th, we will have all of the instructional materials that would be available to our students and our parents. That will be coming up this Saturday, actually. And then our first official day of remote instructions. Again, trustees, I know I've said it, but I'm just going to say it again, just so we're all on the same page, as well as our community, for those that are listening in. So first day of school, official day of school will be August the 19th, but that is going to be remote. So basically it's going to be virtual. And the first day of face-to-face, for those parents that choose to send their children back for face-to-face, that will be on September the 14th. But of course, we'll keep a close eye as far as how we're progressing within Nueces County, and we'll go from there. Because remember, trustees, and I want to make sure that I can say that, and then for anyone again who's listening in, our board of trustees also has now the right, based on the state regulations, in case we need to extend some additional time for remote, you'll have that ability to take a vote on that as well, up to 4 weeks. Also wanted to give you another update. And I know that yesterday's numbers, and I started really checking into that today. Yesterday's numbers for positive cases was pretty high. I think it was about 1,100 and some. We did get some clarity though. Basically, I'm going to say it this way in these terms. It was almost like what they considered to be a data dump. They took a lot of old data, old numbers, and they accumulated, and that's what happened there. So the actual number was roughly about 197 for Sunday. And then we'll see what comes up today. Then also wanted to, just so all of you are aware, where we have some vacancies still at the high school, and I'll give you some additional, more specific information at a later point. But just know right now, trustees, that we have Crossroads Academy that will be, some of the staff there, or actually the staff there will be helping us out at the high school as well to help fill in the blanks for our kids. So we'll definitely appreciate that support, and they're all on board and helping out the high school at this time. And then also wanted to give you an update as far as, actually, when I get to that part in summer projects, I'll give you that update. So we're good, trustees, at this point.
All right. Good. Going to be the TASB convention on September 30th, 2020 through October 2nd, 2020 in Dallas, Texas. It will be virtual.
Yes, sir. And trustees, again, you have another opportunity to continue building on your education credit through the TASB convention, which again, like Mr. Lopez said, it is going to be virtual. That will be September 30th through October the 2nd. So if you haven't already, if you want to talk to Irma, she'll be more than happy to help you out with that. And then the next one, trustees, on Robstown IC summer projects. We're moving along. Actually, this week, they should start the abatement process within the 3 buildings that we have that are up for the demolition. And as long as we keep on schedule, demolition actually could be as early as next week. So I will let you know via email as soon as I find out any other details. But at this point, it's supposed to be Wednesday for the abatement. As long as that continues, then hopefully by next week, they will start the demolition process.
Dr. Moreno,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
abatement, is it in all 3 buildings?
All 3 had a certain level. Some had just as little as around the windows, things like that needed to be cleaned, but they are going through the official certification process. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but it's the same company demolishing everything, so they'll have one particular facility done first? Do you know?
They will. Well, the abatement is a separate company. The abatement is
Okay,
completely.
but the demo.
But the demo is the same company, correct? And they will start at what used to be the community center out by Seal, the
Okay.
smaller building. That's where they're going to start first, and then they'll go to the old M&O, and then after that they'll head over to Salazar.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, sir.
And another question?
No, I'm fine.
And, we'll go ahead and start with the list of bills. Ms. Conway?
Good evening, board members. The bills start on page 7 through 25, and they total $599,670.90. And again, that does not include payroll or payroll liability. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
I have a question. Can I ask it now?
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed that there were several 21st century items on here. Is that going to that budget as far as the grant budget?
Yes, ma'am. If it's for 21st century, it's paid out of Fund 265, the 21st century grant. And just an FYI, that grant has been extended some, so we're going to be able to utilize all dollars instead. Usually it shuts down in July, but it has now the funds have been extended. So we're going to be able to utilize that grant in the next coming months.
Okay, another question. And how come we don't have dates on these invoices?
You mean on the checks?
On our report, we don't have dates.
It doesn't have check numbers either because they're in alpha instead of check sequence. That's, I'll be happy to change it however y'all would like. This has just always been the format that the bills have been presented in.
I'd like to see dates on them. I'm not, it doesn't matter to me about the check number, but the date, because I'm looking at the food services, and it says fresh fruit and vegetables for about $2,700 or $2,700. And I don't know when that was distributed. So that was my question.
Well, these are July bills, so it's chances are pretty good that was the first probably week of June. That would have been when we were finalizing our curbside meals.
Okay.
So we can add the dates on there, Ms. Roldan.
Yeah, that would be good. That way we don't have to have these questions, you know.
I think it's important to have them on there too.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's going to be when the check was written, not when the invoice was received. This is not going to have invoices. It's only going to have when the check was written.
That's fine.
It would be good to see when it was actually used. Like, for example, this one in particular I'm looking at, the fresh vegetables. I just was wondering because the kids have been out of school, and I was wondering when they were distributed. That's my question.
Okay, I'll look into that for you, ma'am.
All right, thank you. That's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Nina.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to know, page number 8 is blank. Was that intentional, or are we missing a whole page of bills? On my packet, page 8 is blank.
Yes, ma'am. There, and that was part of the problem that we had when the print was going through on Friday. So there's going to be some different pages you're going to see like that are going to be off. So I don't have a page 8 even in my packet.
Yeah, we
Now,
don't.
y'all don't either, correct?
No, I
Right.
don't.
No, and that was part of the numeration that was off too.
Okay, I just want to make sure it was an intentional blank page, or we're missing some bills.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that was part of the problem that we had on Friday.
On page 22, there's a $6,000 charge for summer school. I would like to see like how many students that pay for, how many hours that pay for. Is that only one summer session? Is that 2 summer sessions?
And Ms. Garza, it's a little bit hard to hear you. It sounds very muted. And you said something about summer school?
I'll email you my request for that charge.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds kind of muffled, Lori, the volume. I don't know why it's coming out like that.
I don't know.
Can you all see me? I have a,
Yes, sir.
No, my camera's
Yes, you're on.
I
You're
can't see you, Hector.
okay.
I
'Cause
can't see
For some
him.
reason, I can see myself now. I have a picture down at the bottom, which has never been the case before. So I'm just making sure I'm on.
Yes, we can see you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Look the same as yesterday.
And you all are lucky. And you all are lucky.
All right, any other questions on list of bills?
Sure.
And Ms. Garza, we'll wait for your question, and so we can answer that for you.
Okay, sure. Is that better? Can you hear me a little better
No.
now?
No,
Sounds better?
sounds the same, Lori.
Okay. I'll try something different.
Okay. All right, and Nina, on the financial statement?
Yes, sir. The financials start on page 30, and we are still tracking those 3 functions, 23, 31, and 32. They are coming closer to what should be about 92%. And again, that's payroll accruals. So by the end of August, that should clear up. However, I will be presenting on the August 24th board meeting a final budget amendment just to ensure that we have adequate funding in all of our functions, because our audit cannot have any function out of balance, being overexpended. So I will be providing an additional budget amendment at the end of this month.
Okay.
Okay, and speaking of audit, trustees, just just some information, our audit did start last week with our new auditors.
Great.
Any questions on that? On letter E?
No.
Okay, sir.
Okay. We go to item number 6, the consent agenda item. Approval of minutes, approval of the budget amendments, approval of the revised TTESS appraisal calendar, approval of TASB update 115 affecting the following local policies: PF, DED, DIA, DMD, EI, FB, FD, FEB, FFG, FFH, FNA, FNG, and GF. Okay. Any questions on that? I'd like to entertain a motion that we accept all the consent agenda item as presented to the board. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Move by Ms. Roldan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by who? By Ms. Garza?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous? We go to the governance action item, sir.
Trustees, we're asking that you discuss and consider approval of TASB delegate and alternate to the 2020 TASB Delegate Assembly in Dallas, Texas on September 30th, 2020 through October 2nd, 2020. So I know this is a yearly action, trustees, but this is something that you would discuss and make a decision on that. So that would be, again, on page 140.
Sir, since we're going virtual, you still gonna have them there or what? Or they're gonna be going to this,
There,
They're probably doing it.
going to the
It'll be
assembly virtually also?
yes, sir, it'd be virtual, but I'm sure there'll be some separate sessions that the delegate would be part of.
You sign up to a different,
Okay. Now, first, before I even assign anybody, I need some volunteers. Can't see anybody volunteering. Hijos. I guess I'll assign Mr. Ceballos and Mr. Moreno, no? No, oh, they're not board members. Oh, my God.
Oscar, I'll volunteer.
Okay, we got Eva Orona that will be in the assembly.
It's been several years since I did it, so I'll volunteer. I think it's coming back to some of us.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think you'll need an alternate. So I'll be the delegate and you'll need an alternate now. That's in case something happens that I can't do it.
Well, let's have Mr. Lopez, Hector, not Oscar.
I'll
Mr. Lopez
volunteer.
be
I've never
alternate.
been part of it. I've never been part of it, so if,
You
you know,
be the alternate.
it'll be a great learning experience as an
All right,
alternate.
sir.
And trustees, I know that I saw some of you talking right now, but you were muted, so just be aware if you're muted.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be the delegate, and if Hector changes his mind and wants to be the delegate instead of the alternate, so he can have an opportunity, we'll do that. But I'll definitely be the lead if I have to, okay?
And Hector will be the alternate, okay?
I don't mind being second.
Okay.
All right. We have recommendation from staff or by our own board members that said they would, and this delegate and the alternate, and Ms. Eva Orona will do the delegate, and Hector Lopez will be the alternate. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Move by Mr. Lopez, there a second?
I'll second it.
Second
Okay.
by Orona. Any questions?
Doesn't matter.
If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed? Unanimous. We go to B, sir. Action
Trustee-
item, sir.
Yes, sir. On letter B, discuss and consider approval of modifications or revisions to DEA local. So trustees, I'd ask if you turn to page 142. And this is this particular policy is one that would help us in lieu of having to go through a resolution like we did this past spring. When we did the resolution as far as pay for emergency purposes for our employees, now would be part of our policy. We did research, I think, a couple of the policies. Obviously, we also went through TASB, and this was the final recommendation that you'll find on page 144. And again, in lieu of going through a resolution, now it'll always be embedded within our policy to be able to, at any type of emergency case, we know that we already have something in place. Deanna, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that particular one?
No, sir, you've covered it. I mean, I don't know if they have questions on the actual revision, but it actually, it reflects.
Is it TASB requested or TASB required?
No, it's a local policy that we requested because we approved the resolution. So instead of having to do a resolution in case this happens again, we have it in policy. So we asked TASB and they gave us some samples from other districts. And this one reflects what we actually did, which we paid our employees. If you can read the section on page 144 that's in blue,
Okay.
it does say that they shall be paid at the rate of 1 1/2 times their normal rate of pay for all hours worked up to 40 hours per week. So it reflects what we did during the closure,
I
a
have
time and a
question.
half.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that going to be effective today and not backtrack to the COVID?
It's the same.
No,
It's
it's
the
not the
same.
same. No, I'm asking, is it effective today forward?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay,
it's the
so
day
not
that it's approved.
Because it wasn't in
Right. The
effect.
day that it's approved. Yes, ma'am. Moving
Okay.
forward after
All right.
the day the board approves it. You're correct.
Yeah.
All right.
We're still working on the back, Berta.
Yes,
This is from starting from now.
okay,
But
Got it.
what's behind us, we're gonna work on that one.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And the other one, sir?
Again, trustees, what we're asking to consider approval of modification revisions to DEA local.
Okay, there's a recommendation from staff that we approve of the modification revisions to DEA local. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Lopez, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Arona, any questions? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. We go to C. Action item, sir.
Trustees, we're asking for you to discuss and consider approval of modifications, revisions to EIC local. So if I could have everyone please turn to page 145. On page 145, of course, you'll find a summary, but this one goes back to what we discussed earlier this summer as far as our local honors. So we also did some additional research. We had some legal also support and advice on this particular one. If you'll notice on page 146, now because this is now beginning with, again, Deanna, please correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes,
beginning
sir.
with a class of 2021 moving forward, everything you see in red would no longer be in the policy. And that should help to clear up even some of the clarity that we went through in the process early summer. And then as we progress, so again, I'll reiterate, anything in red would be taken out completely. And then on page 149, you'll notice some other changes that are there now in blue. Where you see in red, it says numerical grades. It should have been grade point averages. So that's been corrected there. Page 150, the same thing. It's GPAs versus numerical grade. And then when you go to 151, this will be the part of what we had discussed earlier this summer, but now it's in writing. So Deanna, can you go ahead and take over on that part,
Yes.
please?
Okay, Mr. Chairman,
And I'm on
members.
page 151.
Yes, sir. Of course, this is to bring some more specificity to our local policy. And we specifically asked TASB for some guidance and including language for our top 10 honor graduates. So specifically the way it's written, it's that the district shall recognize as top 10 honor graduates the 10 highest ranking graduates. The recognition may take place at any time during the school year, including but not limited to the district's graduation ceremony. And in order to qualify as an eligible student for this local graduation honor, a student must have been continuously enrolled in the district high school for the 2 full school years prior to obtaining senior status. This language matches and mirrors the same language that we have on the prior page for our valedictorian and salutatorian.
So Diana, let me stop you just for a minute.
No,
So
'cause I don't know if
trustees,
there's
the one
numbers
that you
on there.
have is in your packet, the most recent packet that we sent you. That's where you'll have, that was one of the updates that we sent this afternoon.
Oh, the one that was delivered? I'm looking at
Yes,
the
ma'am.
one.
Yes.
Okay.
It says four semesters.
The one that was delivered to you this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
That'll
Yeah.
have the newest one.
So if you go to the last page of it,
Okay.
Just hold on, Diana, let them get that.
I
that
will,
packet.
I will.
Is there 6 of 6 at the bottom?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Does everyone, just let me know when
Okay,
you all have the
Yeah,
document.
we got it. Thank you, Diana.
Okay, so what you're going to see here is that in order for the student to be honored as a top 10 for our local honors, they will have to have been here for 2 full school years prior to attaining senior status. And that is the exact same language that we have for our valedictorian and salutatorian. So there's some consistency there in our policy. Of course, if we were to have a student, say this year, come from the outside and join our family, the student would still be ranked for college purposes because that's legal policy. But for our local top 10 honors, for our billboard, for our a banner, for our local recognition, they would not be honored because they have not been here for 2 full years prior to attaining senior status.
Okay. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we correct, and I'm trying to look at it all in one big picture without, seeing what's on the other pages. Do we correct where now the summa cum laude and all of them are going to be recognized?
It's right underneath, ma'am.
It's what?
It's right underneath that. If you see
Okay.
top 10 honor graduates, and then we have academic honors, and we have the recognition for our summa cum laude, our magna cum laude, and our cum laude.
Yeah. And I don't mind that y'all send it to me like this, send it to us like this, but I see all this redlining and all that. I mean,
Okay, if you look at the red line, like Dr. Moreno said, that is what TASB is removing that. It's no longer applicable to us because that was for the graduating class of 2016 and 2019. So that all needed to be removed from our policy. So as we were updating our top 10 and our academic honors, TASB has cleaned up our policy and removed everything that is no longer applicable to our students.
okay.
So it'll be clean and it'll start on page 3 of 6. That's where our clean policy will start. And it starts with consistent application for graduating class. So that is all consistent. And then at the very end, which is page 6 of 6, then you get to see what we're recommending to add, which is a top 10 honor graduates for our local recognition. And then we're also including our academic honors, which we will also recognize our students for being either summa cum laude, magna cum laude, or cum laude.
And is this going to be coinciding with the manual that the students get?
Yes, ma'am. This change here will be in the student handbook. We're putting everything in there. Though in the handbook, what we can say is you can look at EIC, but we'd like to have the identical language that's here also in the handbook.
Okay.
That way it's in both documents.
Because I just want to point out that was the biggest dilemma we had this past year, and it's
Totally
unfortunate
understand.
because now we're getting it corrected the right way, the way it was interpreted and understood by a lot of people. And it's a misfortune because we have a senior who got affected negatively by this. And so
Right.
I'm glad that we're correcting it, but it's like kind of too late for her. And it's unfortunate. It just, kind of makes me a little emotional about that. So, but I'm glad we're correcting it.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Silva, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am, I can hear you.
Now you're clear.
Are there any because this is going to affect our sophomores, our
Yes,
current
ma'am.
sophomores and juniors. Are there any kids that are going to be affected by this?
We have checked, ma'am, with the high school, and it would not affect. We have all the students that are current, that now they're current this coming year. All our sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and that we even went further than just 10%. We went the top 20 students. Have they all been in our district for 2 consecutive years? And they double checked it, and every one of those 20 students have been in our district for 2 consecutive years. So
Oh,
we
okay.
should be good. We did do that research, Ms. Garza. We wanted to make sure that it would not affect any of our present seniors, present juniors, or even sophomores. Of course, the freshmen, they're just coming in, so it won't affect them, but it would affect
Right.
our sophomores moving up, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. But they've assured us, and we've got documentation that they have reviewed each one of those students, and they have all been here for 2 consecutive years.
And Diana, another thing just to clarify, is there a procedure that's locked in and in place as to who is going to be doing the ranking? Because I think that was also something that was a little bit questionable, because this current year that just happened, it was done a certain way, and then it got some intervening by administration. So that's why it affected the way it did. And so I just want to make sure that we have a locked in process as to who does it. Is it the registrar? And then what's the second step? Because I checked with other school districts and they have like a 3-step checking point. In other words, the ranking is going to be looked by the first person, the second person, and the third. So it's not going to miss anybody's, process. You don't skip anything. So we make sure that our kids are being ranked properly and no one overlooks something.
We'll make sure, Ms. Orona, that we can outline that, and we'll send something in written form.
I would like
that way we know who ranks first and who double checks it, and then who does the final. But we always have a person at Central that does that, but we'll make sure we outline that and give that to our high school staff this year.
I think so, or put it in the handbook so parents and everybody knows that it's being verified. Okay.
We will make sure that's verified.
I
Yes,
also
ma'am.
have a comment or question. Is it anywhere can we put down that these top students are coming in, which are the top 10 students or top 20, however you want to do it, are aware where their ranking is? The counselors are supposed to give them their ranking. Is there something that we can do about that?
That is not in the handbook. That's not in policy. That's procedures, but they are ranked at the end of the year. So every student that starts the year should know their ranking, and then in the middle of the semester, after the first semester is over, then they give them their ranking again. And then at the end, it's always at the beginning, at the middle of the year, and then of course they rank at the end of the year.
Okay,
I
but
think
you said
they.
Who's they?
The high school registrar's office.
Okay, so the registrar's office is the one that gives them their
The initial
Well, they're the
ranking.
ones that rank. So
they're
we can
the
go
ones that
ahead.
give the ranking.
Okay, we
Not the
can make sure,
not the counselors, right? The
we can make sure we outline that also, Miss Roldan.
Okay.
Diana, I think another question that came up was that when they're coming in from the outside, let's say somebody comes in as a junior, and because you don't have their prior ranking, I'm sure they bring it with them, but we want to make sure that they're aware of the situation about the top honors, and so that someone formally documented with them where they are, because it's only fair to let them know that there's a policy and the process and why they would miss out if they're not here within the 2 years. I just think it's fair to just be honest, because these are students. We can't expect them to read a handbook and understand something. I think we need to be allowing them to be told when they're being accepted into our school district from an outside district.
And
Like
those are really procedures that we need to probably, I think the best thing to do is outline those procedures in written form, ladies. That way we can make sure that there's no questions as to how those things take place. So I'm making my notes, and that way we can spell out and outline those procedures to be followed.
Okay.
And Deanna, that would be a good item to bring to the board on our next board meeting as well, that we could share out the result of that.
Okay.
Dr. Moreno, can all of us get a copy of the student handbook or the conduct, the paperwork that this is in? Because I think that that's going to put all of us at ease. Because
Yes.
when we approved it the first time, we just assumed that it would get transferred to
Because
the
it's
high school.
online, I think, right?
It is.
It's
Once the
online.
board,
It's hard to see it that way.
once the board approves it, of course, we'll post it online before the students come on the 19th. But we will be glad to print a copy of both the handbook and the code of conduct for each one of you. Sometimes it's just easier to have that paper copy in front of you. So we'll be glad to do that, and we'll give you those copies once we have them printed. Of course, we've got on the agenda the handbook, of course, to be approved this evening, along with the code of conduct. And then we'll get you all printed copies. That way each one of you has a printed copy for your review and for your use at home.
And I understand that your operating procedures that you're going to have, just like the board has operating procedures, they're not specifically found in the handbook. But I mean, as long as you reference them in the handbook, that you're following the procedure that's laid out, wherever you keep that step. I just think it's important that we kind of make it all work together and it's all explained carefully.
Yes, ma'am. We'll work on that.
And Ms. Silvas, I'm aware that might sound a little micromanaging, and I apologize for that. But what we went through was very tough. And
we
it
totally
was
understand.
And it was at the expense of a student, and I know none of us want to go through that again. That was pretty.
We totally
that was pretty
understand.
tiresome. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And it's not taken that way at all. I mean, I
No,
think
it isn't.
we need to make sure it's right, and that we continue moving forward. So actually, that'd be great. We'll definitely get you a copy.
We'll definitely make you a copy, and then we'll work on outlining procedures. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need to vote on this, Oscar?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Lopez?
Mr. Lopez?
He froze?
He froze,
Yeah, I think
maybe?
Is he frozen? No, because the ceiling fan, you can see it going.
Oh, you can see it. He's probably not there. Okay.
No, he's there.
Probably-
He's moving.
Okay.
Oscar?
Mr. Lopez?
Yeah.
All right. We're ready on
We're ready.
action. So trustees, what we're asking is to consider approval of modifications, revisions to EIC local.
That's under governance, Oscar, number,
Yeah,
letter.
I'm
number
looking
C.
at it, I missed it. Hold on. Kind of nosed off, huh? Chingao.
It's on the second page, Oscar. Letter C under governance.
All right, I got it. On the governance. Okay, is that the second item or the
Yes,
B
sir.
item or the C item?
C.
Yes, sir. So what we're asking is consider approval of modifications, revisions for EIC local.
Which one?
EIC
EIC
local.
local? Okay, there's recommendation from staff that we approve modification revisions of EIC local. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Hold on, Mr. Lopez, is there a question?
I'll second, Oscar. I'll
Say
second.
again?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Orona. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, unanimous. We go to item 8, business and support is the next item, sir.
Trustees, we're asking to discuss and consider approval of purchase order exceeding $50,000 for Operation Connectivity through Region 4, totaling $188,154. So trustees, our board meeting last week, this is what I mentioned to all of you that we brought forward, and that was to build that with that connection with TEA. So now that that's progressed forward, now Region 4 is the one that's helping to manage the process. So if you even look on page 154 in your packets, that'll now be the full amount that our district is responsible for, is $188,154 for all of the technology that's being purchased for our students. Now, there's still a really good chance that the county is also going to be providing a certain amount, if not close to all, the funding towards computers. So that's a further discussion once this gets approved. If you approve it, then I'll start. My next step is, and it goes again through the CARES Act. I'll follow up with our county once again, and also even follow up with our city as well.
Dr. Moreno, the 188 is the amount of
our portion. So the the state is taking 50% of it. So that's what we're now left with, is $188,154, and that's what we're bringing for your approval.
Okay. And you said that the county was going to come in and get the other half?
That the county is definitely willing to help us out. Hopefully that'd be great. It was a full amount, but also through the CARES Act, the city as well has an opportunity to see what they have that they could provide. But that will be the full amount that we'd be responsible for at this time.
Dr. Moreno, do we have these Chromebooks already in our physically have them?
No, ma'am. No, we started putting orders in since May in the late spring, but everyone's in the same boat right now. So as we had some that came in, not full orders, and those at this time we're also looking at completing that so we can disperse. But we still have quite a bit. Now remember, what we did last week in that approval, that means that we partnered with TEA because they're getting a bulk rate across the state of Texas. So now they're moving it along to try to get all their school districts the computers, the necessary computers. So just so you know, I mean, starting off, we're definitely in better shape than we were in the spring, but we don't have a device for every child just yet. So we do have instructional packets and such that are meet the teacher. Our teacher and principals will be presenting to our kids, and the computers will be prioritized at various levels.
Dr. Moreno, did you check, or I don't know if you're aware of it, but the Keach Library has got a grant, and they can check out Chromebooks. I believe they've said that they had some to share with the students if they didn't, and they can check them out and then check them back in. Maybe whenever we provide our Chromebooks, there's something we need to check into.
No, I was not aware of that, but that's definitely information we can share with our parents for sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Moreno, does this grant, or do we have Chromebooks for teachers?
Part of that, it would be for teachers as well. So one of the things too that we're looking at is, again, the purchasing of some additional webcams. We're also looking at some additional headsets, things like that, to make the process a lot smoother.
Are we going to be ready to start the school year?
Yes, ma'am. We'll be ready. All the training that we have for synchronous and asynchronous, it's actually, I'd love to send, I'll email y'all the full packet just so you can see the work's gone behind it, as far as, because our teachers today, they started professional development. Last Thursday and Friday were our new teachers. Today is the rest of the staff, all of our current teachers. So yes, we're being heavily trained on the Google Classroom, as well as what the synchronous as well as asynchronous is going to look like within our school district.
Okay.
So Dr. Moreno,
Yes,
teachers, all of our teachers have means of teaching virtually?
We
if that's
will,
what they've chosen?
regardless, ma'am, they'll be taken care of for that, because if not, they won't be able to. So whether it's a Chromebook that has a camera on it or another device, but they'll have the ability first to be able to instruct our students.
Okay,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
for teachers who don't have anything, who should they contact?
That's going to be through their principal. Yes,
Their
ma'am.
principal. Okay, but there is enough for everybody, right? There's no
For
shortage
our staff, yes.
yes.
For all of our students just yet, no. Although we've already had the order, we're just competing with everybody else as well.
Right.
Even, again, we got on it pretty early in the spring But
do, yes.
that's how much their backlog right now. You can only imagine, it's not just Texas, it's every state in the United States as well as the world. So everybody's competing. That's why I'm hoping, and that's what TA told us, by them taking the route that they took, they're able to work more directly and in much better pricing as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Recommendation, sir?
My recommendation is to consider approval of purchase order exceeding $50,000 for Operation Connectivity through Region 4, totaling $188,154.
There's recommendation from staff that we consider approval of the purchase order exceeding $50,000 for Operation Connectivity to Region 4, totaling $188,154. Do I have a motion?
I move.
Moved by Mr. Garza.
Roldan.
Roldan. It was me,
Roldan?
Bertha. Roldan.
Okay, Ms. Roldan, is there a second?
I'll second.
And Mr. Lopez, are there any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, unanimous. Now we go to the 2020-2021 budget workshop, sir.
Trustees, what I've asked Ms. Conway to do is I went ahead and had her put all the original packet that we'd given y'all a few meetings ago at one of our budget workshops. I also, in your packet, you'll notice there's some color-coded sheets. One is going to be in blue, one is going to be in green. The green sheet, remember, this is the one that y'all requested. This is your cheat sheet. So the green sheet is your cheat sheet. And what that does, it gives you all the codes that you find on the longer document that looks like this. And she also did some highlighted areas. So what I've asked her to do is, assuming nothing, because I know this is a big deal as we approach our final meeting in August, I think it's August 24th, to pass a budget as well as a tax rate. I want to make sure that y'all have the opportunity to ask any questions that you have, any clarity, and if anything that's needed after our meeting, we'll be more than happy to set up some time. So if you have an individual question that she can answer as well. So Nina, I'll go ahead and start, and please, trustees, let us know if we need to slow down or whatever you may need to clarify.
Right. Okay, Nina.
Again, board members, in your board packet, just for the official record, is draft 2. But you also have a handout so that it's easier to flip back and forth through the pages. So turn to your draft 2 handout. And I've highlighted the changes from draft 1. I was asked about revenue. Draft 1, we didn't yet have the certified values, so now we do. So if you'll go to the very bottom of that document, I've calculated our property collection based on the $655 million values at a $1.0444 rate and a 91% collection rate. That's all in yellow at the bottom. That number totals at the top 6.2.
Ms. Conway, can you just wait a second? I just want to make sure all the trustees were able to get their packets, their information. We're good?
Good.
All right.
Ms. Garza, you're not on.
Dr. Moreno, is this a handout that was passed out today or it's already in the book?
Is that this one that I'm looking at?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I did it thumbs up because my
Can
dog
you
was.
see, Bertha? Let me see it. And was that separate?
We can't see you,
Remember today?
Nina. No, that was in the first packet. Nina, we can't see you.
It's hard to tell because we're looking at 2 different sets of packages y'all gave us, so I didn't know where to look for. I found it.
This was in the original packet.
And again, I can't see Nina, so I don't know why.
I don't either. Maybe because I wasn't talking.
No.
There we go.
Can these be,
I can't
can
see
these
you.
be shared? Can we not share these documents on the computer?
No, ma'am.
I can, but it's a handout because we're going to be flipping through pages. So
Okay.
so it's in your official book, but I also sent it as a handout so that you can flip through the pages.
Okay.
Okay, so again, revenue changed at the very top. Our collection is going to be about $6.2 million. And that calculation, how I calculated that with our new, we just received a certified values. So how I calculated that is 91% collection rate at $1.0444 M&O rate. That will generate $6.2 million of local property tax. The next number, the $375,000, is also a change from draft one. I added $75,000 to our delinquent taxes because historically that's about what we've collected. Even though we began with a $300,000 budget, by the end of the year, and we're going to hit that mark this year, we end up with about 375. So I added that, I increased that by 75,000. Then the next yellow number, again, I've provided detail for that. That's item 2, $19.5 million will be coming in from the state based on our new values. And if you'll turn to pages 6 and 7, I've included in your packet the actual template from TEA of how I calculated your state revenue. We're using at the very top of page 6, we're assuming our ADA to be 2,390 students. And then if you'll go on to page 7, I've highlighted in green the bottom line of what will be generated based on our values and our students that are actually attending. You'll see in green, 19,545,241. So now if you go back to page 1 of the document in yellow, there's the 19,541,241. I was asked to give a lot of detail on how the revenue is, so I'm just showing you where the calculations are coming from. Now the next two numbers, any questions so far before I move on? The next two numbers are in orange because they're really not any revenue that we receive, nor is it expenses that we have to pay out. However, we're required to report that revenue and expense. And if you'll look on TRS's website, they give us a number to post. This year, I'm having to add $900,000 to our current budget, but it's revenue and expense. Again, we're not going to see the money coming in. We're not going to see the money going out, but we're required to post that into our financials. So I'm increasing it from $1.7 million. I'm increased it to $2.5 million. Again, the bottom line, there's no difference. It just inflates our revenue and inflates our expenses. So those are the only changes on page 1. Page 2 is mainly payroll. And the only change from draft 1 is we no longer are going to need that 4th grade Ortiz teacher. It was a $56,000 placeholder. So that was pulled out of the budget. And if you'll follow down the page, we made a few changes, what I call reclassifications or adding days to some staff members. So we had a print shop specialist that last year was a CP7, that's a clerical paraprofessional, pay grade 7. She worked 210 days. We're moving her to a print shop / warehouse specialist. She'll now be under the maintenance department because she's going to be doing our warehousing. And we've added 10 days to her because maintenance works 230 days. And she falls in with her job description, she falls in with an MT7, which is maintenance and trades, pay grade 7. So that's costing the district about $4,500. In addition, we have a assistant principal clerk at the junior high. that was really not in line with the assistant principal clerk at the high school. She was a CP2, and since the job description is relatively the same and the number of students served at those two campuses are relatively the same, we took that position from a CP2 to a CP4, aligned it with the high school assistant principal clerk, and that will be about a $3,900 cost. So
Is
the
that
different,
additional? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry?
Additional?
Yes, ma'am. It'll cost us an additional $3,900 to make that change. And that leaves from that $56,000 savings, that leaves $47,600. And you'll see that I put that in payroll contingency. We're still looking at possibly changing a few more days. So there will probably be a draft 3 for y'all on the August 24th that may utilize some of that money. But it's always good to have a little contingency in payroll. So that's how I balanced this out. Are there any questions?
With the 4th grade Ortiz teacher, is that because we don't need that teacher to be replaced or what?
That was going to be a new position, and now they've decided that they don't need a new position. It wasn't a replacement. It was going to be a brand new position. But now, because of enrollment, that new position is not needed. So those are basically all the changes to draft 2 from draft 1. I do want you to note page 8, which is the certified values. We just received, I think, July the 23rd. I can't calculate my tax rate. I can't decide how much we're going to collect until he actually certifies the values. So that's that document. And then the most important of the whole packet is page 9. On Wednesday, both papers, the Record Star and the Corpus Christi Caller-Times, will have this hearing posting. I've highlighted at the top, our tax rate could be as high as 1.8444. However, I'm waiting for the commissioner to certify our values. Our values went up, our rate, our values went up more than the state average of 4%. So the commissioner certifies how much we can set our tax rate at. I believe the calculation is going to come in at 1.0444. However, if I post more, we can still adopt a 1.0444. But if the commissioner decides that we can do a 1.06 and I post less, then we won't be able to do that. So I intentionally made this document 4 cents more than I think what the calculation will be, just on the slim chance that it could be more than 1.0444. I know that's confusing. This is the first time we've had to do this. So if there's any questions, please let me know. I wanted y'all to see this prior to it hitting the paper because you may be asked by the taxpayers. Mm-hmm. And then a question that's always posed is, well, Nina, what will our fund balance be? That's also in this posting, and it's at the very bottom. We're anticipating our local M&O rate, our maintenance and operations fund balance to be about $8.8 million, and our INS rate to be about $300,000. There's still a lot of questions. One is the connectivity. Our fund balance may increase a little bit if we get some help from the city or the county. But also this year, the Texas Education Agency is calculating our ADA. We know what our ADA was for the first 4 weeks, but once we went remote, that changed a lot. So TEA is going to come back and tell us what our ADA calculation is. Usually I know way before TEA does, but this is This is a different time we're living in. They're going to go back 3 years and look at the trends and then let us know what rate to put, what our ADA calculation will be.
Nina, when will you know? I guess before posting on Wednesday?
No, this is going to be posted just like this.
Okay.
And the reason I bumped it up is, like I said, I can't go to $1.054 if the commissioner says that's what we can do. If I post what I think it's going to be, which is $1.0444. So I just added 4 cents just to give me some leeway. And even at 10844, we would still have a no revenue tax rate, no additional revenue tax rate. Any other questions? Okay, the rest of the packet that's in your board book. Yes, sir.
Just real quick, Mr. Lopez.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Torres just came on board.
Okay. For the record, Mr. Torres is now on. Will you please? Okay, we got you on. You're coming out on the picture already, sir.
Yes.
You're on Kenny camera now. All right, sir. Thank you. All right. Your recommendation, sir, on that one? Or just a workshop?
It's just a workshop, sir, and then I think she has one more document to share with y'all.
On the same 2020-21 budget workshop?
Yes, sir. She's got one more section.
All right,
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead. All right.
Okay, if you go back to your large sheets, your 8.5 by 14 sheets, this is very detailed information. And the reason we provide that for you is this is really the only place where we have discretion. Your campus budgets are not on here because we give out an allocation to the campus. They go to their site base and decide how they're going to appropriately spend that money. Salaries, obviously, y'all do have discretion over. So that calculation was on your draft too. The rest of the budget is on this 26-page document. And I want to take you through some scenarios so that you can see how to read it. If you'll go to your green sheet of paper that Dr. Moreno fondly calls the cheat sheet, it starts out with fund, and then it goes into the functions, and then the objects, organization, and program intent. So if you look at your big sheet, your 8.5 by 14, and we're going to start with Dr. Moreno. The first column is 199. That's fund. Then the next column, E, means expenditures. The next column is function 13. So on my functions, what is function 13? That's curriculum and instruction and staff development. And you keep going, 62.99. That's an object. So you go to your green sheet, what is 62.99? Miscellaneous contracted services. Do you see how this flows with your cheat sheet? Okay. So a board member asked a lot of questions, and they're all in this one document. For instance, I was asked, what about debt service? So debt service, if you look on your green sheet, debt service is function 71. So in this massive 26-page document, there's probably some function 71s. Pull your aqua or blue, whatever you want to call it, sheet. For maintenance and operations, that's our fund 199 general fund. This is the only debt service we have. We have a bus, actually 3 buses that we're still paying off. We paid, if you'll remember, we paid off 4 last year, and we have 3 years to pay off the other 3 new buses. So next year, I'm going to pay $61,010.36. Go to page 5 of the big document. just above transportation is function 71. I'm going to make a payment of $56,000 for principal, $5,000 for interest. There's my $61,000 payment. Consequently, the other two, back to your blue sheet, we also did some HVAC and retro. We had a funding in August of 2013, and then an additional funding in February of 2014. And that payment is almost $490,000. So where is that in the budget? If you'll turn to page 21. I'm trying to get there. You're looking for 71, function 71. It's almost at the bottom, about 75% down the page. You'll see a $360,000 principal payment and $125,000 interest payment. That's how we're paying the HVAC off. It will take us till 2028 to finish paying that. So again, that's the only debt service that we have, other than your INS debt, which is your interest and sinking fund. And that, again, you have no discretion over. We know how much we're going to collect in property tax. We know what the state is going to pay a portion of, and we know how much the bond payments are. So there's, there's no change in that. Going back to some other questions. I was asked about fuel and energy cost. That's on page 20. And board members, if you remember, electricity bills were all wrapped up in 945 district-wide. Last year, I pulled that out and gave it its own organization so that it's easier to track instead of keeping it in that one big organization. So I pulled that out. And utilities rose down to 937 utilities. We're going to budget $1.4 million. And if you go across, right now we've currently paid $1.2 million. So $1.4 million should be plenty. And that's your gas, electricity, water, and we pay a lot of money in dumpsters and crushing, compacting our trash. Additionally, I was asked about special education expenses. So she's got a lot of accounts. She's page 10 through pages 18. That's the entire special ed budget. Additionally, I was asked for virtual distance learning expected expenses, and we just talked about the $188,000 that we're going to spend for new Chromebooks to ensure that that every campus is a one-to-one, has a one-to-one device. And then finally, compensated absences, and I'm not real sure, but what is meant by that, but we have to put in our financials what our compensated balance is. So I've got 50 days of leave. I don't put that as an expense because it's not an expense of the district. My days carried on from other school districts and I brought here. It's not like a city or a county where they have to fund that. Ours is funded through the state. So even though, it's not in our financials, it's just a note to the financials of approximately what that cost is. But it's not borne by the district, it's borne by the state. But if that doesn't answer that question, please let me know and I'll work on your answer. And then another question was employee salaries and benefits. So I'm going to briefly go over how I calculated tables. I did the tables and then I sent them to HR, and they're going to put them into salary manual, a compensation plan. But if y'all remember, we are looking at a 2% of midpoint. So basically, I took every step from 0 to 27, added those together, divided by 28 to get a midpoint or an average times 2%. So for instance, a CP1, that's a clerical paraprofessional pay grade 1, they're going to get 24 cents an hour raise. Down to a CP10 will receive a 48-cent an hour raise. On manual trades, pay grade 1 is a 22-cent an hour raise to pay grade 8, which is our highest rate in manual trades, a 45-cent raise per hour. On the administrative staff, they're paid by the day. So I did that same thing. I took their average on 28 steps. An AP1 will get $4.61 added to their daily rate. And again, board members, the reason we do daily rate is because some work 187, some work 190. A lot of people work different days, but everyone in that pay grade will receive $4.61 per day raise. And then a pay grade 10, just to give you an idea of the range, will receive an $8.39 daily raise. Any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
And the most important are our teachers. I did the same thing. I looked at the 19, 20, 27 steps, got their midpoint, gave them 2%, and that was about $1,013. So as you move from a 0 step teacher to step 1, they got $1,013. So if you'll recall, last year, 1920, we started at step 0, $41,000. So guess what? From step 1 next year, you add $1,013, and our step 1 is $42,013. Nobody had step 0 and stays on step 0, so I just took about half and added $500 to step 0. However, I talked to Dr. Moreno about that this morning. When you look at that scale, and it's in your board packet, there's a big jump.
Are we looking at the compensation plan now, Nina?
Yes, on page 177 is your teacher plan.
So trustees, this, assuming nothing, this is in the new packet that you got today. Okay, the updated one is in your new packet that you received today.
Okay. What page, Nina?
I don't have that. It's 177 in the book. I don't have the change.
Okay.
However, in what I had originally said, we would start with 41,500. But when you go from 0 to 1, you can see there's $500 difference there. But most of our steps are only about a $200 or $300 difference. So I think it would behoove us as a district to maybe bump that step 0 up to 41.8 will be more competitive. And then we're looking at a $200 increase. We want to try to get step 0 as high as we can so we can recruit teachers. So if, that may change in the compensation plan that you go to, that we approve on August the 24th.
Okay.
That's all I have. Ms. Silvas, do you want to add anything about the comp plan?
Well, we've included like Nina shared with y'all, she worked on the tables and sent them to us. So we'll be putting together booklet where you'll have everything there. But you shared with them as to how you calculated that. But you have all the draft of the job classifications and the pay grades. And then we've also included the stipends in the back, also as a draft for y'all to take a look at in the document that was sent to y'all. Both documents, but if you look at the one that was in your packet late this afternoon, you get to see all the stipends that are also there for your review.
Now, the stipends are the ones you adopted last year, but anything that you see in yellow are some recommendations that we're making.
So that would give you an opportunity to review that in case y'all have questions for when you do, when those get approved at the next meeting. So if there's something in yellow, that means there's a change.
Deanna, I think in reviewing the list right now, when you go to the very last one, I see the yellow there. I know that I thought there was a couple other changes throughout, but I don't know if the yellow didn't come out on the copy or what.
Yes, sir. On that very last page, the last three should be highlighted in yellow, and the third one from the bottom isn't, and that one should be highlighted in yellow also.
You're talking about the assistant testing coordinator or what?
Yeah, the lead diagnostician, that one should have been highlighted in yellow. That we're looking to adding that one.
Oh, okay.
As
Because
it's changed compared to the original one that was adopted.
Yes, those last three were not in last year's stipends. Those are three additional ones. The other three on top of that, the change there is that we're changing the amount. We're going to recommend at the next meeting on the autism. That amount was higher, so we're making a change on that. And there won't be a stipend for dyslexia anymore. We don't have that grant anymore, or the large campus. That would be with nothing. So those would be removed. So anything in yellow that you take a look at the stipend is either something that we're looking at removing or adding.
When you're removing, does that affect anything with student outcomes or no?
No, ma'am, on that one, on those that we're removing is because we no longer have the grant, so we're still wanting to make sure that we implement.
I'm just saying about the service. Are you still giving the service to the student or is it?
Yes, ma'am, definitely. But that's pretty minor on the stipends. We really worked on stipends last year, and y'all really took a really good look at stipends last year. So that's really been cleaned up. So there's very few changes on the stipends.
All right, and that would be this whole packet here, what you call the copy.
What, Dr. Moreno, or is this, we're going to be reviewing this to approve on the 24th, what you gave us?
Yes, ma'am. So we just wanted to make sure you had a clean copy of the compensation plan.
Okay.
And if you, again, trustees, if you have any questions at any point after our board meeting or such, or during the week, just let us know. We could clarify.
Okay.
I have a question, Dr. Moreno.
Yes, ma'am.
So Nina, she's recommending that we up the 0-year experience.
Yes.
Is that the number that she wants to increase to? Is that already in the numbers, or we're going to get different numbers?
There would be an adjustment because that would be an additional $300 on the, Nina, we're talking about the teacher scale, the hiring scale.
Yes, sir.
So where you mentioned 41,500, then we recommend to make that change to 41,800.
Yes,
so
sir.
that would impact us on adjusting some of the budget, correct?
I don't know of any brand new teachers, so no, no, it won't change the budget.
There's some. Well, I was told there's some. Okay.
Deanna,
I just wanted to make
sure. Brand new teachers?
Brand new teachers, yes, sir.
New to the profession.
Pardon?
New to the profession.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would think so.
We have several brand new teachers.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
But that's already included in the budget. I put in for brand new positions, $56,000. So there will be ample money to make that 41.5 change to a 41.8.
Okay. That's good. That's what I want. That's what I was looking for. If it's gonna change, like in the negative, but it's not because it's already in there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
So Dr. Moreno, when you bring it to us for the next meeting, the final meeting, are you then gonna have these numbers updated, or are we gonna have to just kind of have recollection of what our conversation is today?
No, you'll have a clean compensation plan that we'll take for you for your review and adoption at that point. That's part of the overall budget.
Is that going to include the rate of the pay rate increase,
Yes, ma'am.
the two proposals?
Yes, it'll include the very first document that Ms. Conway started the presentation with.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Okay, trustees, again, if you have any other questions on our budget, please let us know, and we'll be more than happy to meet with you. Okay, sir, we're ready to transition.
Okay, we go to open session.
On
We
instruction,
go to item number 11, right?
number 9, sir.
Number 9, we go, okay. Discuss, it's instruction items or action items.
Yes, sir. We'd like to discuss and consider approval of the 2020-2021 Student Handbook, Student Code of Conduct. And again, trustees, that would include the changes to the policies that we spoke about earlier.
Okay.
Dr. Moreno, if I may add,
Yes.
board members, if you go through it, you'll see some things highlighted in yellow in the handbook. Those were changes that TASB has made to the handbook. None of those are local changes. Those are all TASB changes. A big thrust on a mental health support that is throughout the handbook. And then in the student code of conduct, there are no changes because they were not in session. So the code of conduct has no changes, but the handbook does have a few changes, and those are in yellow based on TASB's recommendation.
So trustees, if there are no questions, then we're requesting to consider approval of the 2020-2021 Student Handbook, Student Code of Conduct, which again includes EIC local, the updates.
Okay, Mr. Lopez, I think you're waiting for a motion, Dr. Moreno?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there's the recommendation from staff that we approve is that an action item or no, the 2020 budget workshop, or we're on number 9?
Number 9, sir, letter A.
Okay, discussing the recommendation from staff that we approve the 2021-2020 Student Handbook, Student Code of Conduct. Do I have a motion? Moved by who?
This is Bertha. I move.
Berta, who second?
I'll second it, Oscar. Eva.
Second by Eva. Any questions?
No, sir.
I would just like to remind that I would like a copy for all of us, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We'll
Get
get you
you a copy. Definitely.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, unanimous. Good item number 10, closed session under 551.074, 071, and 087 of the Texas Government Code. Do I have a motion?
Move.
No. I'll second.
There's a
By-
motion by, there's a motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Ms. Eva. Is there a second? I mean, any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, unanimous, sir. Item 8.
Okay, trustees, and at this Okay, sir.
Okay, at this time I'd like to entertain a motion that we reconvene from executive session. I mean, to open the session. Do I have a motion?
I'll
I'll
move.
move.
Moved by Hector, second
By Eva.
by Eva Morona. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Unanimous. We go to item 8, sir.
Yes, sir. Trustees, we ask that you consider approval of an application for appraised value limitation submitted under Chapter 313 of the Texas Tax Code and related agreement for limitations on appraised values submitted by Permico Midstream LLC. And this is application number 1375.
There's recommendation from staff that we approve of an application for appraised value limitation submitted under Chapter 313 of the Texas Tax Code and related agreements for limitations on appraised value submitted by Permico Mainstream LLC, application number 1375. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Is a motion by Mr. Roldan. Is there a second?
I'll second Oscar.
Second by Mr. Arona. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
Unanimous. We go to
Aye.
item number.
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
That was
Said
two
no.
no's.
You have to document 2 people said didn't vote for it, Oscar.
Okay, who did not vote?
I
I
voted
me.
no.
I voted
You
no.
voted no?
Yes, sir.
Hector?
And Lori.
who else? And Lori.
Lori.
Okay, it was 5-2 with Lori and Mr. Lopez voting no. All right? Okay, next item on the agenda, we have entertainment, a motion to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a motion?
Whoa.
Was there
No,
anything?
we gotta go to personnel. Gotta
We
go to
have
personnel, I'm
personnel.
sorry. We're going to personnel now. We go to B, action items, sir, discussing consider approval of resignation, appointments, and terminations.
Yes, trustees, we ask you to consider approval of resignations, appointments, and terminations as discussed in executive session.
There's recommendation from staff that we approve the resignations, appointments, and terminations as discussed in executive session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Move on, Ms. Orona. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Mr. Lopez. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Unanimous, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much for coming over and enjoying this beautiful meeting. I fell asleep for a little while.
Oscar, who made the
But
motion?
at least I'm honest.